Prabhuti Dhananitya Gita Vadita Mahatyam Manasura Sena Mahaprabhuti Dhananitya Gita Vadita Mahatyam Manasura Sena Romancha Kampa Shutaranga Bhajo Vande Urashi Charanara-vindam Romancha-kampa Shutaranga-bhajo Vande Urashi Charanara-vindam Shri-vigrahara Dhananitya-nana Shringara-taman Tiramarjanado Shri-vigrahara Yutasya bhaktam chaniyunjatopi Vande Urashi Charanara-vindam Yutasya bhaktam chaniyunjatopi Vande Urashi Charanara-vindam Chatuvidhashi Bhagavad-prasada Sadhana Tirtam Hari Bhakta Sankham Pradhamidati Bhagavad Prasada Sadhana Tirtam Hari Bhakta Sankham Krishna
व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां च दुकुलचौरम् व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां च दुकुलचौरम् त्वां कृष्ण हे प्रलयकोटिशतान्तरेऽपि सर्वस्वचौरहृदयान्नाहि मोचयामि हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Shri Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Shri Subhadra Jaya Sundaresha Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya
Jai Om Vishnu Pada Brahmamsa Pratikacharya Stota Shata Shishimati Divine Grace Abharjana Rinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON PBT Bhaktivedanta Institute Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pada Brahmamsa Pratikacharya Stota Shata Shishimati Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। नाम आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय। श्री नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम चैत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री अयोध्या धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। पार्वती देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। समावृत भक्तवृंद की जय। पुरुषोत्तम अधिक मास की जय। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। Nitai Gaura Premanande. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gaurang. All glory to Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Gala Gala Gadaine. Gala Gala Gadaine. Hiranyakashi Purvachaha. की श्रील प्रभुपाद की आनंद कोट वैष्णव
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवसुचाय विष्णुपार्थिपदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवसुचाय विष्णुपार्थिपदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवसुचाय विष्णुपार्थिपदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो प्रियाभिलाषी राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो विष्णु भक्ति प्रति देवी सत्यवती नमो नमः वृंदायै तुलसी देवी प्रियाय केशवशे च विष्णु भक्ति प्रति देवी सत्यवती नमो नमः वृंदायै तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवशे च विष्णु भक्ति प्रति देवी सत्यवती नमो नमः राधे तुलसी महारानी की जय
Oh, Tulasi, beloved of Krishna, I bow down before you again and again. My desire is in the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Wherever Bhikshaka you has wished to fill, please convert the fountain and make me resident in Vrindavan. My desire also grant me residence in the precious course of Shiva Vrindavan town. Thus within my vision I shall behold the beautiful path of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me follow a confidence of virgin. Please give me privilege devotional service and make me your own maidservant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always swim in the love of Shri Radha and Govinda. Srimati Tulasi Maharani ki jai. There are 10 fences in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the name of the demigods, Lord Shiva or Brahma, to be equal to independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the order of spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Veda literature or literature pursuant to Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit single activity in the strength of chanting holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna with auspicious ritual activities, offering the Veda fruit activities, karma, kanda. 9. To instruct the faces present about glorious holy name. 10. To not complete faith in the chanting holy names, and to maintain material attachment in understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us for most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just as trees who can fulfill to everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Paridanam Pavekyo Vaishnavekyo Namo Namaha Ananta Koti Vaishnavendra Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam Ki Jai. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam Shriya Kairava Chantrika Vidaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam Pradipadam Purnamita Sadhanam Sarvadhamasnapanam Paramijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Namakari Bhavadhani Ja Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Smadanina Karaha Etadashi Tava Kripa Bhagavam Mahapi Durudevami Disham Yaha Janina Nurakaha Trinadapi Sunijena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sada Harihi Na Thanam Na Janam Na Sundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Jammani Jammanishware Bhavata Bhaktir Haituki Doi Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mang Dishame Bhavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sitaduri Sadesham Vijintaya Nayanam Galadashu Dharaya Padanam Gadgada Rudaya Kira Purakai Ishtam Vapurkada Tavanama Kahane Bhavishyati Yudaitam Himeshena Chashtusha Pravisha Itam Shunna Itam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahe Name Ashri Shava Padavatam Pinastumam Adarshanam Marmahatam Kurotuva Yatha Tatha Va Vidatha Lampato Mat Prananatha Susa Eva Natparaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam Ki Jai. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the conditional life of repeated birth and death.
The Sankirtan movement is a prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of benediction. It is the life of all transcendental laws. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, holy name alone can grant all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I have desired beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name, when will my voice choke up and when will the hairs on my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Siksastakam Ki Jai. Shri Guru Pranama Prayers Ki Jai. Om Aganya Timirandasya Yananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapachakamalan. Give him, the black devotee, give him the words to the prayers. Zivam Saidvaitam Savadutam Padichana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakha Devitam Sat Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskati Satarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamani Shiva Savanavi Devi Dayitaya Kipabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vigyana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujjwala Premadya Shri Rupanduka Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostate Namaste Gauravani Shri Mutaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Shakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rasambode Padambujaya Te Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Vir Bhava Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Savabhoma Sri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Manchakalpa Turibhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Namaha Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Chuse Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhakta Akyam Namami Bhakta Saktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostate Jayatam Suratur Pangur Mama Manda Mate Gati Matsarva Swapadam Gojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vindharanya Kalpadumadaha Shrimad Ratnakara Simhasanastito Shrimad Radha Shila Govinda Deva Prestali Bhisevyamano Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasaram Vamsi Vata Tatastita Karsan Venus Swanir Gopir Gopinatak Sriyestuna Tapta Kanchana Korangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Rishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai. Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Riksha Lakshavide Susuravi Paliyantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Pranandam Ravinda Dalayataksam Parhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesha Sobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kala Sadvana Bhagyavansi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeri Kala Vilasam Shamam Chivanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Alo Nasya Sakalendriya Vittimanti Tipanti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vikrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Ahyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sadulabam Adulabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Mantastu Koti Satavatsala Sampragam Yo Vayo Rupapi Manasomni Pungamanam So Pyastiyat Prapadasimya Vichintya Tattve Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chahitum Jagadanda Kotim Yas Chakti Rasti Jagadanda Chayaya Danta Adantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manujasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusa Suktaryameva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Patibhavitabhis Tabirya Eva Nijarupata Kalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto Govinda Mahati Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Santaksta Deva Hidesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govinda Mahati Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Tusukala Mimenatistana Navataram Akarud Bhuvanesu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumamyo Govinda Amadi Purusham Tamaham Vajami Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. So we can take turns reading the meaning. Krishna.
Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis.
I worship Govinda, the primeval lord who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with the figure of a beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids.
Very good. Back.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, around whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautifully identified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyam Sundara is eternally manifest.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth,
Substantiality.
Substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the fully fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests in infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling their respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years.
Very good.
He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore.
Very good.
I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas. By gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confidants, Sakhis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shyamsundara, Krishna himself, with innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion, tinged with the salve of love.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the form of Rama, Narasimha, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portions.
So are there any questions about these verses? I'm sure there are statements here that in these verses that you might not understand. You can ask it right now.
In the verse I just repeated, when we say as his subjectives, what does it mean?
What does he say?
As his subjectives, portions, as his subjective portions.
Okay.
Avatars.
Okay, so it says, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna, and the different avatars in the world, in the forms of Rama, Nrsimha, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portions. So there are subjective and objective. So let's look it up in a dictionary. Yes.
So one subjective means based on or influenced by personal feelings, tastes, and or opinions.
Keep going.
And then relating, depending on the mind or on an individual's perception of its existence. So that's another
Okay, objective.
Objective means making an unbiased, balanced observation based on facts which can be verified. Subjective means making assumptions, making interpretations based on personal opinions without any verifiable facts.
Okay, so those are misleading definitions. Any other definition for objective?
this is not influenced by personal feelings and opinions.
That's objective.
That's objective.
Any more definitions? Okay, so the objective incarnations are the ones that are named, Rama, Nishinga, Vamana, etc. And his subjective portions, these would be like, yeah, go ahead.
Something that one's efforts or actions are intended to attain or accomplish purpose, goal, target.
So a subjective portion would be like, let me just think a minute. We know what objective is. These are specific incarnations. The subjective would be offshoots of those incarnations. I'm trying to think of an example. You have like, well, let's say Prabhupada is a representative of Lord Krishna. So you have people like Vyasadeva, you have people like Narada Muni, you have people like Prahlad Maharaj. They are not they are and they aren't direct incarnations of the Lord. So if we look at Prahlad Maharaj, he has the qualities of a pure devotee of the Lord. So that would be something subjective. He can represent the Lord because of his purity, but he's not exactly the Lord. That represents something else in a either subtle way or in a more pronounced way. Okay, let's leave it at that. I'm going to look some more into that subject, okay? Any other questions about any of these verses? That was a good question. Let's look at text 35. Ekop yasora chaitam jagadanda kutim yaschaktirasti jagadanda chaya yadanta. Adantarasta paramanu chayantarastam govinda mati purisham tam ham bhajami. And this is a very important verse where it says he is an undifferentiated entity, as there's no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. That means that Krishna and his body are non-different, whereas our body and ourself are different. The body is material in our case, but the soul is eternal. In the case of Krishna, his body is eternal, and there's no difference between his soul and his body. So that would be why it says an undifferentiated entity. We are differentiated entities because there's a difference between our body and our soul. Krishna is an undifferentiated entity where there's no difference between his body and his soul. As there is no distinction between the potency and the possessor thereof. So again, Krishna's potencies, and there are many of them, and Krishna himself are non-different. Whereas for us, whatever potencies we have, we're not in the same position as Krishna, where the potency and the possessor, there's no distinction between the two. Like, for example, you can get, let's say, a car. A car gives you more potency. You can drive around. You can go long distances, things like that. But in the case of Krishna, there's no difference between his potency and himself. Whereas in our case, we need the car, we need all these different conveyances to increase our potency. Right? So Krishna, he can travel anywhere he wants. He doesn't need a car. He doesn't need a rocket ship. He doesn't need any of those things. Okay, and then it says, in his work of creation of millions of worlds. So he doesn't just create this universe. There are many other universes that he creates. Right? His potency remains inseparable. In other words, he's never diminished. His potency is always intact. That's why you have like the first mantra or the first verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigra. No, you have the not the Brahma Samhita, but the Ishopanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachate Purnasya Purnadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. That verse says that the Lord has infinite energies. He can expand them as much as he wants, but he's never diminished. So therefore it's saying here that his potency remains inseparable. He can create millions of universes, but yet his potencies, his assets, everything are not diminished. We do some work, we get tired, we need to get some extra food or something, or rest. And Krishna, he's never tired, he doesn't need rest, he can rest if he wants to, and so forth. So his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that is scattered throughout the universes. So not only Krishna encompasses the entire creation, but he's also personally present in every atom of the creation. Nobody else can claim these things. These are all unique qualities of Krishna. So, if you want to, someone says to you, well, who is Krishna? Well, you have to be able, you could quote this verse and go step by step, just like I'm doing now, and show that there's a major difference between Krishna and the living entity. So, these are things that we have to learn. So you can go right away to this verse, and you'll be able to explain the uniqueness of Krishna. So every day, we're reading these verses. So let's discuss these verses a little bit every day, because there are things that, these are all glorifications of Krishna and his uniqueness. And that's what we have to learn if we're going to become a preacher. We have to learn what is the uniqueness of God. It's not like, anybody, someone can, let's say, do some exercises and becomes God. That means they have no understanding of who God is. So these verses explain exactly who Krishna is. Okay, so now, did they chant today, the Charaya? Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll just read the English translation. So, somebody wants to read?
I offer my respectful obeisances to that foremost of thieves, who is famous in Vraja as butter thief, and who steals the gopis' clothes, and who, for those who take shelter of him, steals the sin which have accrued over many lifetimes.
I'm glad he steals those things. Next. Anybody?
I offer pranama to the foremost of thieves, who steals Srimati Radhika's heart, who steals the dark luster of a fresh rain cloud, and who steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take shelter of his feet.
I hope he does that too. I want to get rid of all those things.
He turns his surrendered devotees into paupers and wandering homeless beggars. Oh, such a fearsome thief has never been seen or heard of in all the three worlds.
But this is a good thing. He turns his surrendered devotees into paupers and wandering homeless beggars. Well, Prabhupada was a pauper and a wandering homeless beggar. And look what happened to him. He became the most prominent spiritual, let's say, representative of Krishna in modern time. So it's not a bad thing to become a pauper and a beggar if you're a devotee. Because from that position you can become a pure devotee and look at all the good you can do, helping thousands and thousands of people to become Krishna conscious. Either you help your family, your neighbors, your friends, because you're married, you have kids, and you can't travel around like a sannyasi. Or later on, you could become a sannyasi like Prabhupada and convince hundreds and thousands of people to become Krishna conscious. See? So both ways, whether you're married or you're not married, and you're a sannyasi, you can preach. No one is held back from that. And you can help people. Go ahead.
Mere utterance of his name purges one of a mountain of sins. Such an astonishingly wonderful thief I have never seen or heard of anywhere.
Yeah, look, a mountain of sins. Oh, my God. Everybody has a mountain of sins from many previous lives and in this life. So we're happy to Krishna can steal them, purify us. Go ahead.
O thief, having stolen my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, and my everything, where can you run to? I have caught you with the robe of my devotion.
So there's no other way, just like Mother Yasoda, she was trying to catch Krishna, but because of her sincerity of love for Krishna, he let her catch him. In the same way, you can catch Krishna by your love and devotion for him. Go ahead.
You cut the terrible nose of Hemaraj. You sever the dreadful nose of material existence. And you slash everyone's material bondage. But you are unable to cut the knot fastened by your own loving devotees.
Devotees never let go of Krishna. Of course, the karmis do. And Krishna can cut the terrible noose of Yamaraj. Whoa. Just imagine having that noose around your neck all the time for the rest of your life. Krishna can get rid of it. Go ahead.
O stealer of everything, O thief, today I have imprisoned you in the miserable prison house of my heart, which is very fearful due to the terrible darkness of my ignorance. And there for a very long time you will remain, receiving appropriate punishment for your crime of thievery.
Okay, and the last one? Anybody?
O Krishna, O Krishna, thief of my everything, the news of my devotion remains forever tight. You will continue to reside in the prison house of my heart because I will not release you for millions of aeons.
That means forever. Okay, very good. Thank you. So now we'll have a lecture. So we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 13, verse number 26 or 27? Huh? 28? Okay. I think it's two. What? Which one are we on? Okay. Yeah, 27, you're right. Utsiptavala kakchara katora Sata vidu van kararo masatvak Kurahata bra sitadamstra iksha Jyotir babase bhagavan mahidraha Uksiptavala, slashing with the tail. Kachara, in the sky. Katora, very hard. Sata, hairs on the shoulder. Vidunvan, quivering. Kara, sharp. Romasatwak, skin full of hairs. Pura ahata, struck by the hooves. Abra, the clouds. Sita damstra, white tusks. Iksha, glands. Jyoti, luminous. Babase, began to emit an effulgence. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Mahidra, the supporter of the world. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Who would like to read? Anybody?
Translation. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks.
Wow. Purport.
Purport. When the Lord is offered prayers by his devotees, his transcendental activities are described. Here are some of the transcendental features of Lord Bohr. As the residents of the upper three planetary systems offered their prayers to the Lord, it is understood that his body expanded throughout the sky, beginning from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka or Satyaloka.
So he started like this big, coming out of the nose of Brahma, and then he got as big as an elephant, and now he's expanding his body throughout the whole universe. That means that this is no ordinary person. This is not a pig. This is some incarnation of Krishna, because nobody else could do such a thing. Right? Go ahead.
It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that his eyes are the sun and the moon. Therefore, his very glance over the sky was as illuminating as the sun or the moon. The Lord is described herein as Mahidraha, which means either a big mountain or the sustainer of the earth. In other words, the Lord's body was as big and hard as the Himalayan mountains.
Wow, just imagine that. Just imagine it. Go ahead.
Otherwise, how was it possible that he kept the entire earth on the support of his white tusks? The poet Jayadev, a great devotee of the Lord, has sung of the incident in his prayers for the incarnation.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, all right, go ahead.
Vasati dasham shikhare dharani tava lagna shashini kalanka kaleva nimagna keshava dhrita shukara rupa jaya jagadisha hare.
Very good.
All glories to Lord Keshava Krishna, who appeared as the boar. The earth was held between his tusks, which appeared like scars on the moon.
Okay, so this is supernatural reality. And nobody else can do anything like this. This is the Lord's special qualities. Okay, let's go to the next verse. We just read the English. Next, somebody else read.
He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu and was therefore transcendental. Yet, because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee Brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus, he entered the water.
So that means he was appreciating the recitation of the devotee Brahmanas who were offering Vedic prayers. So imagine every day now we read Brahma Samhita, we talk about it. Krishna is hearing it and seeing. So we're being blessed because he enjoys hearing glorification of himself. Yeah. Go ahead, purport.
Purport. We should always remember that although the body of a hog is material, the hog form of the Lord was not materially contaminated. It is not possible for an earthly hog to assume a gigantic form spreading throughout the sky, beginning from the Satyaloka. His body is always transcendental in all circumstances. Therefore, the assumption of the form of a boar is only his pastime. His body is all Vedas are transcendental. But since he had assumed a form of a boar, he began to search out the earth by smelling, just like a hog. The Lord can perfectly play the part of any living entity.
Always remember that. He can perfectly play the part of any living entity. So this would be, that's like a subjective representation of the Lord. Go ahead.
The gigantic feature of the boar was certainly very fearful for all non-devotees, but to the pure devotees of the Lord, he was not at all fearful. On the contrary, he was so pleasantly glancing upon his devotees that all of them felt transcendental happiness.
So why would we be afraid of the Lord when he appears as Varaha or Nishinga? Because every day we're glorifying the Lord. as Varaha or Nishinga or the other incarnations. And therefore, we would not be afraid by seeing such a gigantic creature as Varaha, whose body extends throughout the whole universe. And he's acting just like, seemingly like a pig, but his body is made of the Vedic scriptures, or Vedic Shruti. So, these are objective and subjective qualities. So when you say his body is made of Vedic mantras, or what did it say? His body is all Vedas, or transcendental, that's subjective. Or his body is like a boar, that's objective. Okay? All right, next. Who would like to read? Ladies? Any ladies?
Diving into the water like a giant mountain, Lord Boar divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord, O Lord of all sacrifices, please do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection.
So you see, everything is alive, everything is personal, whether it's Lord Boar or
Ocean.
the ocean. You see, everybody else say, no, the ocean is not a person, it's not possible. Oh, it is possible. And we have to adjust our thinking. In the spiritual world, everything is alive. The plants, the trees, and they're persons. They're personal. And that's why Krishna consciousness is personal. It's everything is ultimately a person and has consciousness. That's in the spiritual world. Not everything has consciousness and is personal in the material world, although most things are, but not everything. Okay, go ahead. Next.
Even the great ocean was perturbed by the falling of the mountain-like body of the transcendental boar, and it appeared to be frightened as if death were imminent.
So ocean also, Varuna, it's a person. And the gigantic body of the boar falling like a mountain frightened the ocean, as if death were imminent. Next. Somebody else?
Yes, ma'am. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Translation. Lord Boar penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limits of the ocean. Although it was unlimited, he saw the earth, the resting place of all living beings, lying as it was in beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it.
So first he separates the ocean into two parts so that he can see, where is the earth? Earth is at the bottom of this Garbhodaka ocean. So now he sees it, and now he can go down and pick it up and put it back in its orbit. Go ahead.
Purport. The word rasayam is sometimes interpreted to mean rasatala, the lowest planetary system, but that is not applicable in this connection. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the earth is 7 times superior to the other planetary systems, namely Tala, Atala, Tatala, Vitala, Rasatala, Patala, etc. Therefore, the earth cannot be situated in the Rasatala planetary system. It is described in the Vishnu Dharma. Therefore, the Lord found the
Earth on the bottom of the Garbhodakshaya ocean, where the planets rest during the devastation at the end of Brahma's day.
That's a lot of information about the cosmology of the universe. Okay. So next, let's read the next one.
Translation. Lord Bohr very easily took the earth.
Wait a minute, slowly and clearly, you're mumbling.
Translation. Lord Bohr very easily took the earth on his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus he appeared very splendid. Then his anger glowing like the Sudarshana wheel. He immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although he tried to fight with the Lord.
Good. It's one less demon in this world. Purport.
Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the Vedic literatures describe the incarnation of Lord Varaha both in two different devastations, namely the Chaksusa devastation and the Swayambhuva Bhava devastation. These particular appearances of the both incarnation actually took place in the Swayambhuva devastation, when all planets other than the higher ones, Jana, Mahara and Satya, merged in the water of devastation. This particular incarnation of the boar was seen by the inhabitants of the planets mentioned above. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti suggests that the sage Maitreya amalgamated both the boar incarnation in different devastations and summarized them in the description of Vidura.
In his description to Vidura. In his description to Vidura.
Vidura.
Okay. So, this is a lot of technical information, but you see how Prabhupada is taking so much time to explain things so that there's no confusion. Okay, let's go to the next one. Next, who wants to read?
Thereupon, Lord Boar killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging in the purple earth.
Okay, ladies, somebody wants to read next? Text 33.
Then the Lord, playing like an elephant, suspended the earth on the edge of his curved white tusks. He assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamala tree, and thus the sages, headed by Brahma, could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offered respectful obeisances unto the Lord.
So the sages, headed by Brahma, they can understand who this gigantic, very, very, let's say, frightening being is. It's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas the demons, they're afraid, they're running away. We're going to die. And devotees, they're all cheering, yes, 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 this is the incarnation of the Lord. Let's say. So there's a difference between demons and devotees. Devotees, because they come to class, they hear regularly Srimad Bhagavatam, they can recognize who is Krishna or who is God and who is not. Whereas the demons, they always make mistakes. They're eating meat, engaging in illicit sex, gambling, intoxication. They're having a merry time, ruining their lives. But the devotees, they have control of their mind and senses. They're not bewildered by supernatural events. They completely depend on the mercy of the Lord, and the Lord protects them. We have to have that faith. The Lord protects them. Okay, next.
All the sages uttered with great respect, O unconquerable enjoyer of all sacrifices, all glories and all victories unto you. You are moving in your form of the oceans. The oceans are submerged. For certain reasons, to uplift the earth, you have now assumed the form of a boar.
So, your form of the personified Vedas, that's a subjective thing, you see. His form as a boar is not subjective, it's objective. Okay, purport. Read the purport now.
The Lord can assume any form he likes, and in all circumstances he is the cause of all causes. Since his form is transcendental, he is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he is in the causal ocean in the form of Mahavishnu. Innumerable universes generate from the holes of his bodily hairs, and thus his transcendental body is the Vedas personified. He is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, and he is the unconquerable Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is never to be misunderstood to be other than the Supreme Lord because of his assuming the form of a boar to lift the earth. That is the clear understanding of sages and great personalities like Brahma and other residents of the higher planetary systems.
So we're fortunate enough to be able to understand Lord Boar through the prism of great transcendental devotees like Lord Brahma, the first living entity in the universe, the most intelligent, most, let's say, pure devotee. Okay. And one more. Anybody?
Translation by Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Lord, your form is worshipable by performances of sacrifice, but souls who are simply miscreants are unable to see it. All the Vedic hymns, Gayatri and others, are in touch of your skin. In your bodily hairs is the kusha grass, in your eyes is the clarified butter, and in your forelegs are the 4 kinds of fruitive activities. Purport. There is a class of miscreants who are known in the words of Bhagavad Gita as Vedavadi.
Vedavada Rata, or Vedavadi, okay, I'm sorry.
Vedavadi, also called strict followers of the Vedas. They do not believe in the incarnation of the Lord. What to speak of the Lord's incarnation as the worshipable hog. They describe worship of the different forms of incarnation of the Lord as anthropomorphism.
That is that we are assuming or projecting human attributes to these different forms of the Lord. So that's a so they describe worship of the different forms or incarnations of the Lord as anthropomorphism. That is, look up the word. It's assuming that we project from ourselves our human qualities on these different creatures. Right. What does it say?
It's the attribution of human traits, emotions, or intentions to non-human entities.
Right. So whenever they use the word anthropomorphism, it's a pejorative thing. It's they're trying to say, well, that's because people are so ignorant. They try and project their own qualities on animals or other things, but it's not a fact. Go ahead.
In the estimation of Srimad Bhagavatam, these men are miscreants. And in Bhagavad Gita 7.15, they are called not only miscreants but also fools and the lowest of mankind. And it is said that their knowledge has been plundered by illusion due to their atheistic temperament. For such condemned persons, the Lord's incarnation as the gigantic hog is invisible. These strict followers of the Vedas, who despise
So
the
that's their nonsense realization, right? It's not a fact. For such condemned persons, the Lord's incarnation as the gigantic hog is invincible. In other words, they don't believe it happened. Go ahead.
these strict followers of the Vedas, who despise the eternal forms of the Lord, may know from Srimad Bhagavatam that such incarnations are personified forms of the Vedas.
Personified.
Yeah.
That's the way you pronounce it. Personified.
Personified forms of the Vedas. Lord Boar's skin, his eyes.
Okay, so you see personified forms of the Vedas. So we're going from a pig to a transcendental entity called Varaha that might look like a pig, but it's not. It's transcendental, and it is made up of, as it says here, different parts of the Vedas. Go ahead.
Lord Boar's skin, his eyes, and his bodily hair holes are all described here as different parts of the Vedas. He is therefore the personified form of the Vedic hymns, and specifically the Gayatri Mantra.
Whoa, it's getting thicker and thicker here. The Gayatri Mantra, the most important mantra for going back to Godhead, besides the Hare Krishna mantra. Okay, so what is a Veda Vati or a Veda Vatarata? So in the Ishopanishad, ninth mantra, it says, according to the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 42nd verse, and 7th chapter, 15th verse, mistaken mundane educators are known as Veda Vadarata and Maya Prita Jnana. They may also be atheistic demons, the lowest of men. Those who are Veda Vadarata pose themselves as very learned in Vedic literature, but unfortunately, they are completely diverted from the purpose of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, it is said that the purpose of the Vedas is to know the personality of Godhead. But these Veda Vadarata men are not at all interested in the personality of Godhead. On the contrary, they are fascinated by such fruitive results as the attainment of heaven. Okay, I'm going to read a little bit more about the Veda Vadarata, but let me give you the secret who they are. Have you ever heard of the Arya Samaj, or as I call them, the Arya Hodgepodge? They are Veda Vadaratas. Do they worship deities? No. Do they believe that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? No. But yet, they claim to be experts in Vedic knowledge. That's who a Veda Vadarata is. They completely mislead who God is, what are the attributes of God, and so forth. And they eliminate things. They eliminate deity worship. Do they worship deities? No. They eliminate Aarti. Do they perform Aarti to deities? No, they don't. They reject deities. So what do they put in place of that? Agnihotra. That you're supposed to do, like, in the morning and the evening. So they have these little copper utensils, and every morning and every evening, when the sun is coming up and the sun is going down, they do the Agnihotra. So this is all speculation, and it's misleading, but they claim to be experts. And then Prabhupada continues, he says, as stated in Mantra 1, We should know that the personality of Godhead is the proprietor of everything, and that we must be satisfied with our allotted portions of the necessities of life. The purpose of all Vedic literature is to awaken our God consciousness in the forgetful living being. And this same purpose is presented in various ways in the different scriptures of the world for the understanding of a foolish mankind. Thus, the ultimate purpose of all religions is to bring one back to Godhead. But the Veda-Vadarata people, instead of realizing that the purpose of the Vedas is to revive the forgetful soul's lost relationship with the personality of Godhead, take it for granted that such side issues as the attainment of heavenly pleasure for sense gratification, the lust for which causes their material bondage, in the first place, are the ultimate end of the Vedas. Such people misguide others by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. Sometimes they even condemn the Puranas, which are authentic Vedic explanations for laymen. The Veda-Vadarata Ratas give their own explanations of the Vedas, neglecting the authority of great teachers or acharyas. They also tend to raise some unscrupulous person from among themselves and present him as the leading exponent of Vedic knowledge. Such Veda-Vadaratas are especially condemned in this mantra by the very appropriate Sanskrit words, Vidyayam Rataha. Vidyayam refers to the study of the Vedas because the Vedas are the origin of all knowledge, or Vidya. Hey, that's your name, Vidya. Right. And Rata means those engaged. So Vidyayam Rataha thus means those engaged in the study of the Vedas. The so-called students of the Vedas are condemned herein because they are ignorant of the actual purpose of the Vedas on account of their disobeying the acharyas. Such Veda-Vadaratas search out meanings in every word of the Vedas to suit their own purposes. They do not know that the Vedic literature is a collection of extraordinary books that can be understood only through the chain of disciplic succession. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master in order to understand the transcendental message of the Vedas. That is the direction of the Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.12. These Veda-Vadarata people, however, have their own acharyas who are not in the chain of transcendental succession. Thus they progress into the darkest region of ignorance by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. They fall even further into ignorance than those who have no knowledge of the Vedas at all. Whoa. So I won't read any more, but there is more about this. So you have heard about the Arya Samaj? There are a lot of them in India, the Arya Samajis. They're completely nonsense. But they get away with it because people are ignorant. And they don't know who is Krishna or who is God. And they believe all these, I think the founder was Dayananda, somebody like that, in around 18. Yeah, in the 1850s, sometime around there. And he established this whole thing, and it's completely bogus. There's no substantiality to it. It's not tattvic. It's not Vedic. But they claim to be Vedic experts. So these are different types of Mayavadis because they reject the worship of Krishna himself. Right? Okay, we'll stop right there. Are there any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Maharaj, in the 35 verse.
35th verse.
35th. Your form is worshipable by performances of sacrifice, but souls who are simply miscreants are unable to see it. Of course, when I read that, I designate myself as one of those because we perform sacrifices, but we are unable to see how we are worshipping. Can you elaborate more on that, Maharaj? How we worship through sacrifices we perform.
So that was in the purport or in the verse?
In the verse, Maharaj. In the translation.
Your form is worshipable by performances of sacrifice. But souls who are simply miscreants are unable to see it. That's what you want to know about? Well, it depends whether you're a miscreant or a devotee, right? So we're trying to learn to become a devotee, not a miscreant. The miscreants can read the Shastras also, right? But souls who are simply miscreants are unable to see it. So, unable to see the form of the Lord. So that's why we have rules and regulations that you promise to follow at initiation. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and chanting at least 16 good rounds every day. And there's a whole number of other things too, like eating only prasadam, and associating humbly and with other devotees, doing service. All these different things will purify you so that you can understand. And but souls who are simply miscreants are unable to see the form of the Lord, like the Maya, like the Vedavadaratas and so many others, the demons. So this is why Krishna consciousness has rules and regulations so that you can purify yourself. If you don't purify yourself, you can try and understand whatever you want, but you'll never go anywhere. It's just like a car that is in perfect running condition, but somebody stole the battery. So will it start? Huh? No. So if we have demoniac qualifications, you can read all the scriptures you want, you can go to all lectures you want, you can give lectures, you're never going to be able to see the Lord or understand the Lord. Okay, so does that explain?
Yes, Maharaj. So all material sacrifices that we do is also a form, we should treat is a form of worship to Krishna.
Everything depends on the purpose. Is the purpose to get more money, more power, more disciples, more this, more that? Or is it to glorify Krishna? So if your only interest is to glorify Krishna, then you will see Krishna. If it's mixed with other purposes, like wealth, sense gratification, and so forth, you're not going to see Krishna. Okay. So pure, the problem is, Lord Chaitanya is teaching pure devotional service. He's not teaching mixed devotional service. He's teaching pure devotional service. So that's something we have to understand. Now some people say, I don't want to do pure devotional service. I want to do mixed devotional service. Okay, fine, you can do it if you want. But you're not going to see Krishna, you're not going to go back to Godhead. You might see a little bit, but not much. Okay? So are we all pure devotees right now? Maybe not. But if we follow properly Lord Chaitanya's program of chanting Hare Krishna and going on Sankirtan, all these things, you will become. And actually rather quickly and rather easily, a pure devotee. So what are you aiming for? See, you should be aiming to become a pure devotee because that makes everything easy for you. If you aim to be a mixed devotee, that's just going to complicate things. If you want to be a non-devotee, that means you're lost. So it's up to you to decide. Just like, every time you drink milk, if I put some ink into the milk, would you be happy? So why do you want to be a mixed devotee? That's like putting ink, ink, right? They use for writing things, right? If someone puts ink into your white milk, would you like it or not like it? No, because they're contaminating it. So why become a mixed devotee? You should become a pure devotee. That makes everything easy. And fun. Right. Okay, but you see there's so many organizations like the Arya Samajis and this one and that one. They're all teaching things that are all mixed or demoniac, and it's not going to go anywhere. Don't even waste your time, because it's just going to be a waste of time. Just come to what Lord Chaitanya is teaching. You go back to Godhead easily. And you become purified easily, and you can see the Lord. Well, you're seeing the Lord anyway. Every day you have darshan, you're seeing the Lord, right? If you go to the Baha'i temple, there's no deity there. If you go to the Arya Samaj temple, there's no deity there. They're not showing you Krishna. Say, so why even waste your time with those people? They're all speculating. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So whenever you talk of India, you have to talk about a gigantic pot in which someone is cooking khichdi, right? So it's a huge mix of khichdi, and every khichdi is in there.
But everybody, the same thing in Maharaj, that everybody thinks that they are right.
Well, and every situation is right and wrong. So being a mixed devotee, it's a little bit right, but wrong also. Being a pure devotee, there's no wrong about it. Being a non-devotee, or an atheist, or a Mayavadi, it's all wrong, 100%.
So will it be Buddhism, there is Sikhism, Jainism, then this Arya Samaj, then Mayavadis, then our Vaishnava also have different sects. So is there a reason that why this has been happening? Because is there any plan behind that? Like,
Yeah, it's called Maya. It's called Kali Yuga, the worst time to be in the material world. So now here you have a chance. Go ahead, you can chant if you want. Now you have a chance to become a pure devotee. So why would you waste your time with these other groups? Take the best and leave the rest.
it's just a distraction.
Now, if Prabhupada didn't come to the West and then take his Western devotees back to India, you wouldn't know any of this. You probably would be a Arya Samaji right now.
Yeah, that is true, Maharaj, because India is very hard because they're all mixed up and very hard to get focused.
Well, they don't think they're mixed up. They think they have the truth. Haribol. Go ahead. You can start.
Shri Guru Chaitanya Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma
Kevala Bhakti Sadma Shri Guru Chaitanya Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Shri Guru Chaitanya Padma
Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Tamagati Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Tamagati Jai Prasad Pure Sarva
Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharini, Onivishesha, Shunyavadi, Paschatya Dishatarine. Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharini, Nirvishesha, Shunyavadi, Paschatya Dishatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and the master of devotees. O Lokanath Goswami, O Master, be merciful unto me. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Ki Jai.